Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this planet. So happy to be discussing about wellness for all with my dear friend, Anna Bjurstam, Senior Strategic Advisor, Wellness Pioneer. Thank you so very much, Anna, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Shangi.
Before we start into a series of questions so that we can learn insights from you, what you see out there, what has been moving and what you're following closely, I'd like to remind people why I have been so passionate on following you for the past 20 years. You started as a Nike fitness instructor, traveling the world, then opening one spa and then many others, finding yourself working with 200 spas in 70 countries in the course of the past 20 years, holding the most prestigious positions, including as VP of Spa and Wellness for Six Senses until IAG bought it over in 2019. And you were one of the founding members of the Global Wellness Summit. And I cannot wait to be in St. Andrews again with you in about 8 weeks for the next Global Wellness Summit. So truly meaningful for us to be discussing with you about wellness for all. My first question is, of course, about guests, clients, members, all eyes of operators, whether they are hospitality operators, wellness, fitness, yoga. It's all about the client. The client is king. What have you seen that really struck a chord in the pioneer eye that you have about what's out there, what's really coming to take the guest experience to a whole new level in wellness?
Well, that's a big question. I think one thing that I see is about 2 years ago, no one really knew longevity. And suddenly everyone in the world, it's a very commercial term and it's a very appealing term, where it's longevity in a medical term means how long you live, full stop. Doesn't matter if you're sick or if you're not sick. Longevity in a commercial terms meaning living well as long as we can. We generally get a disease at 63 years of age that follows us to the end. And if we can push that forward 1 year, 2 year, 10 years, that means that we have a completely last part of life, so to speak. And at 63, we might have even half of our life left. So I think longevity is a very appealing term. And it's interesting to see to see how that now forms the next level of wellness, I believe, for our guests, and a much more holistic view on looking at how we work with wellness. And what I mean by that is that wellness is great, and it's very important for us to live well here and now. Longevity is about the future. It's pushing, it's a different strategy. It's a different focus than wellness. You can't have one without the other, but they are different. And what we're seeing now, what I've seen as solutions is very interesting. And we just talked about the Social Club, a club that I'm involved with here in Stockholm, where it's a club for community, for social, for wellness, and for fitness, but also longevity. So we're able in one club, in one space, to work with everything from recovery to blood tests to understanding your real age and many other things. And then also having the solutions there. You often go to a clinic and you get like everything you need to do. And then you need to find somewhere to go and get the solutions, whether it's fitness or practitioners or other doctors. So what I'm very excited about and what I'm seeing more and more, and also what we're working with the Six Senses, is a one-stop shop where you both get the, so to speak, the verdict on where you're at, and then what you need to do, and a place to do it when someone holds your hand, and especially with the community, because we know that when we do it together with others, it becomes so much stronger. And we can also see that in a certain way with the complete explosion around the world of membership clubs. People are seeking a community where they can do a lot more things in one place, whether it's some are social clubs where you can work and you can go and have dinner and you can meet friends and you can have meetings. There's so many things you can do in a social club. Some are wellness clubs. So we're seeing more and more of that. And with Six Senses, we're opening Six Senses Place, the first one in London next year, which again is that one-stop shop where we have, and there we have a clinic attached. So we can do the blood and the NAD injections and all those things that we need to do, and all kinds of other stool tests and urine tests and Dutch test and whatever we need to do in order to kind of figure out what the solution is for each individual. And then we can give them the solution. So I think this is something that we will see more and more of around the world. And it really excites me because what often happens is that we go to the doctor or we go to some practitioner that tells us what to do, but then the difficulty is finding the solutions how to do it. So these one-stop shops are really interesting. And with Six Senses Place, we're going to open in London, Bangkok, Dubai, Lisbon, New York, Tel Aviv, and many other locations that are on the books. So it's going to be interesting to how we do a worldwide community as well. So that's very exciting about some of the new innovation. Do you want another one?
Please do, but before you go to another one, I'd like to highlight the fact that with the social club in Stockholm, it's not just that you offer modalities that go beyond soft wellness, relaxation, guided meditation, holistic treatments. You really go into the serious wellness, all the way to the fact that some of the rooms are opened based on facial recognition. You're a guest, you're a member, and so your face is recognized. And apparently, the how do you say, the staff around the social club is quite minimal, with a wellness concierge helping you to get into the room where the treatment is going. Can you explain what is going on? Because this is, you are so into high touch now, high tech, and morphing everything.
Tech is really interesting. So what we've done here is that if I'm a member, my face is facial recognized, of course. So that's the only way I can get into the door. Otherwise, I have to knock if you're a guest. So you get in through the door, and if I have booked, let's say, a red light bed session for 20 minutes or half an hour, I don't even have to say hi to anyone. And that might sound bad, but we also know that people's time is scarce. So you don't have to go and check in, and you don't have to be shown. It's like I simply let myself in with my face, and then I go outside the red light room, and there's a facial recognition. And because I've booked it on the app, they know that for this half hour, this room belongs to me. So then I can go in there and simply lay down, go out, put my clothes on or take a shower, whatever I want, and go out without have to talking to anyone. But you can, because there's always people there, and we have a social club room, etc. So I think that is one way where everything is automized. And we saw that with the airports, for instance. And when they stopped that you needed to check in at a counter, but you did it at a kiosk. And then they said, but for business class luxury travelers, they all want to have this personal touch. But they were wrong. Because again, time is scarce. You don't have to go to a person to get a boarding pass. If you can do it more efficiently and easier, not saying that a personal touch is not important, it is, but it's a freedom of choice, I would say. And it also obviously is a very smart way of operating a facility where you don't have to have as much manpower, because otherwise we would have probably, I would say, quadruple the manpower if we didn't have the financial, because then we need a reception desk with three, which always manned, plus an attendant, plus someone else. So it would probably triple our number of staff that we need at any one time. So, and in Sweden, staffing costs are very high. So it's a good way of making sure that we can keep the costs down as much as possible. But it is also win-win because our guests enjoys it.
Which also brings the conversation to another level. from techniques, manual techniques to technology, there's a big leap. But also the presence of human being is taken to another level. Is it just someone ushering you here and there and having meaningless conversation when you don't want to be bothered and just want to have your treatment? Or now the fact that you have one or two really puts the emphasis on what kind of a conversation you're going to have with the guest and the member. What are the things you're going to say that are going, if there is an interaction, really trigger interest, curiosity, and build possibly a culture of wellness. And the more people know about their body and how it functions, and I can encourage anyone attending a conference where you speak, because you make it so clear. Sometimes it's very, very complex, like quantum physics, or sometimes not really known with sacred geometry, shamanism. And then you take the essence of what it is and you explain. I imagine that the wellness concierge, to a certain extent, also can explain what the technologies are, what they serve in a very meaningful way, so that the next time the member says, okay, I know the red light and this is what I usually take, but what are in the other rooms? How would they benefit me?
In the other rooms there, we have cryotherapy, which we see more and more, infrared saunas. We have PEMF, pulse electric magnetic field, which is, and it depends. I mean, PEMF comes from scale 0 to 100 when it comes to efficiency. So there's a lot of snake oil with PEMF. So you have to dig down and understand what type of dosage you should have, so to speak, and depending on who you are, but I think and what you're needing. And therefore, if you have like fibromyalgia, which PMF has been then you need a very low dose. And if you have back pain, you need a higher dose, because it depends on what level. But PMF is very, very researched and scientific. So that's incredible. And it's a really cool device on how it's basically you lay on a mat, or if you have a special injury, you can put rings around that, and it really helps to promote healing in that area. We have a intermittent hypoxia, which it means that it's kind of like high altitude training that you can do for about 30 minutes. Again, very good for longevity, good for health, good for wellness, because longevity, a big part of longevity is to get rid of the senescent cells. We don't talk about that in wellness, but in longevity, that is one of the main focuses, is to get rid of there. And the senescent cells are cells that stop dividing in the body. And they're also called zombie cells. They just roam around, and then they gather into groups, and that forms cancers or Alzheimer's. This is the leading cause, that when you have too many senescent cells, that's the problem. So a lot of the focuses on longevity is to find a way how to clean those senescent cells out. One thing on them is hot therapy, cold therapy, because when the body gets into crisis, it gets rid of the things that they don't need, like the zombie cells. But also intermittent hypoxia, when you do high altitude training and you lower the oxygen that you get into your body, which in effect actually increases the delivery of oxygens to your tissues. And in that way, you also get rid of senescent cells. So the more senescent cells you can get rid of, the better it is for your longevity. It's one of the strategies, but it's a very, very important strategy.
Brilliant. Thank you. You did mention another innovation. You said you want another one?
Well, if you want another one, I think one thing that we're seeing, and it's going to be super interesting, is AI and big data. And for instance, we're doing a trial next week at Sixensis Kaplankaya with the GM's conference, where we're going to be able to measure their sleep, how they sleep during the nights, all of them. And what happens is all they need to do is to download, and you can do it yourself, download Sleep Score. I have no ties with Sleep Score Labs. You download Sleep Score Labs app and you can set. What they then did, and this is a bit scary, is that they can draw all your data from the last couple of years of sleeping from any wearable. You don't have to pair it. You don't have to do anything, just by consenting. If you have an Oura Ring, an Apple Watch, a Whoop, whatever you have, they can look at what's your sleep pattern. And then when you are in a hotel, they take all the guests, not by individual, but collectively, and they can look at what room do people sleep best in. You can various implementation and understand how can you improve our guests' sleep, and also be able to do understand how we can design, how we can treat our guests, what we can do. So it's a super interesting how big data is coming in and can just draw out information without us knowing it. I think we all kind of see it today, but also that how we're going to get wellness solutions, that from keying in certain factors, we can immediately get exactly what we're needing right now. We have today apps and systems that can just through the way I'm speaking, tell me exactly what I need wellness wise. So there's so much of this coming out. I would say if we sit here in 2 years' time, we're going to be working on a very different way when it comes to AI. And it's scary, but it's also exciting. And we're already, the train has left the station. So we need to keep the story in our head saying it is exciting, because we kind of need to get on the train.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it is definitely the next step of a program that you did launch a few years ago, which was Sleep with Six Senses, and where guests were receiving a box with special pajamas, the eye mask, and guidance and music that they could listen to. So it's really taking it to another level. So thank you. Wellness for guests, wellness for members, and I believe membership is also a big innovation. It's not new. I mean, so many people have Amazon memberships with a fitness club, but they should have more memberships with their local spa or yoga studio, so that they can truly enjoy the benefits of incremental activity, serenity. And it makes total sense also for the operators. Now, let's take a look, because I'm conscious of time. I'd like to take a look at wellness for staff. Some companies call them hosts, associates. What have you seen, or what have you implemented with your team at Six Senses, or maybe in other properties, to really take care of the caregivers?
We started some years ago, me and a chap named Arjun from India, to look at our staff wellness in Six Senses. And we created a program that today is called Mission Wellness, and rolled out across all properties as well as our head office. And we had some students, capstone students from EHL in Cambridge, I believe, to look at this about 2 years and compare it with all other host or staff wellness initiatives in the hospitality industry. And it came out by far the strongest. And I think it is a lot about what we're offering to our guests, whether it's good food, because one thing that we saw is that our staff canteens was not at the level we should if we promote wellness. So it took us quite a few years to change that staff canteen, not only because to change the food, but to change the perception of, for our staff, not drinking Coca-Cola for lunch, and what that does to them. So it was a slow process, but I would say, and we offer so many different, we have actually 120 wellness and staff initiatives that we offer to our staff every month. And it spans from financial wellness, because a lot of our staff are there to make money, and they leave their families when we're talk about Asia. So how do you best grow that money that you earn? So that's been very interesting, as well as emotional wellness and social wellness, and of course yoga and all those things. So we have a very comprehensive mission wellness program at Six Senses that I'm incredibly proud of that we are doing. And I think the most important thing for staff is that they feel that we actually care from our heart. I think that's more important than anything else. Often what we've seen with staff wellness is that you do a competition. How many steps can you do? Or you do this, and staff then say they only do that so they can squeeze more work out of me. And that's what a lot of the research says. So for us, it is important to actually care and do that authentically. I think another company who does that beautifully is Four Seasons. When they talk about how they care for their staff, I think it's a beautiful company as well. There's many others and many other examples, but I'm proud we've really done a systemized approach with these 120 different initiatives that ticks all the boxes when it comes to the wheel of wellness, whether it's workplace wellness or social or financial or physical or emotional or spiritual wellness. So I think all of those are I'm very proud of that. And also with Raison, which is another company that where I started and worked with, or maybe not where I started, but a big part of my life. We had a beautiful call today. We did a horse leadership training earlier this year in May, and we're all agreeing that this equine leadership training is by far the most impactful leadership training we have ever got in our lives. And we've done a lot of leadership. And today we had a 2-hour call of sharing that and sharing stories of what we've learned and what we've implemented and where we fall down of implementing insights, etc. And we share that. And that is also, I mean, Raison is a smaller company. We're about 20 people in the head office. So it's easy to do. In Six Senses, we're in IHG, it's huge. But there's different things that are applied, but for me, that call today warmed my heart as a highlight of the day, except this one, of course, on how you really care about your staff. I think that's the most important thing, because sometimes staff feel that you just do things for show or because you have to. Just like with sustainability, you can see that. Or if you do it authentically and not because you have to, but because you want it from your heart. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to staff wellness.
In the same sense of some people say that a spa is an amenity to a hotel, or others, like you, say the spa is really the heart, the beating heart of the property, and the philosophy of the spa, the way it's operating should also permeate to the other departments of the hotel, not just be that place in the basement or on the top. In the same vein, do you think that what you're doing and what Six Senses has been doing with the Mission Wellness Program for its staff, IHG is looking at incorporating some or most of the 120 initiatives? I know it's a bigger group, but little by little, could it permeate also for them?
I think IHG has also, and they were absolutely amazing, or we were, but IHG, the head office, was during COVID, for instance, and how they cared and took care of their staff and how they looked at their welfare and especially the mental well-being. So that's been a very big part for IHG, which they've done beautifully, where Six Senses can learn from IHG and vice versa. So I definitely see that they are incorporating. We're both learning from each other. I mean, IHD bought us 5 years ago, but it always takes a while to really integrate, which we are in fact doing now. But I think IHD has a really nice program on a different level. Again, in Raison, we can sit and talk and share. So IHG with thousands and thousands of employees can't do that, but they have a learning platform. They have leadership training. They have help if you need emotional or mental help. So there's a big system that they've really created in a nice way. And we can see that with the IHG staff as well. So I'm quite impressed with what IHD has done. And it's different from Six Senses, which is different from Raison. You could say it's like small, medium, and large. And you just have to apply different things. And we can, of course, get a lot better. We're absolutely not there. One thing that we're seeing, and we're just going into our GM's leadership conference later this week, is that really making sure that as we grow, the culture and the ethos of Six Senses stays and continues to evolve in each property. So that's something that we're going to work a lot, because as you might know, Six Senses is expanding a bit rapidly at the moment with a lot of new hotels. How do we make sure that that Six Senses heart and essence is kept? So it's different challenges, but I would say, yeah, IHG could learn from Six Senses and Six Senses can learn from IHG.
Brilliant. We've talked about guests, members, staff. What about community? Because I know Six Senses, wherever they set foot in, they respect and honor the land they are in. And most of the time, they recruit the talents from the vicinity. So the people from nearby communities have the chance to learn, to grow. You have visiting practitioners and masters also. But what are the positively impactful programs or initiatives you have seen with Six Senses, or maybe from the conference, from the Global Wellness Institute earlier on this year in New York?
Well, I think one part is if we look at the local communities, I mean, we have as we had this conference in New York, it was a lot about residential wellness. How do we create healthy homes? And that is those that can afford to buy those homes, of course. And then you create communities to do that. And we were talking before this call, before we went live, about when we get older, we want to live in a community. And me and my girlfriends has always said that we're going to buy a big, big house because we're going to outlive our husbands most likely, because that's just the way it is. And then we're all going to live there and sit there and talk and enjoy like a blue zone always. But I think we're going to see more and more of that. But also what Successes does for the local community, we take 1% of our, or 0.5% of our revenue, which may sound small, but it's actually quite large sum. And we invest in our local communities, whether it is, for example, in the Maldives, we have an amazing GM, Martine, who has a trash boat. So instead, and teaching the locals, so that goes around to all the islands in the atoll and collects trash, and then making sure that it's taken care of, instead of the islanders taking in a boat, putting some stones or corals in it and dumping it out in the ocean because they don't know better. They haven't been taught better. So those are beautiful things when we talk about, because they live on fishing. So we need to tell them that dumping our trash in the ocean will not be good for the fish. So, but then you have to have solutions. So those are things. Or in Cambodia, where we went into a school and taught them how do you sort trash and why do you sort trash. And so that was also something that was really it. So these are the things that we do. We get them clean water. We teach them English. So we go into the communities and try to help them to be stronger themselves. And I think that is really, really important. And I see so many doing this. I mean, I was reading about Patagonia, for instance, that does this beautifully. One of the most ethical companies I know, where they very much go into communities and look at wages and how factories and how their clothes are being made and making sure that they support them in the best way. So there's a lot of examples. And recently a study from Harvard showed how it doesn't matter if this is in America, a Democrat or Republican, but you could see that social responsibility and sustainability is important for whoever you are. So they're saying it's also a very important business strategy. For not doing it poses a risk. Everyone agrees on that, regarding where you come from. So I think, but again, it needs to come from the heart, not just because it poses a risk.
Absolutely. So let's talk about you a little bit, Anna. What will you are planning to do on September 20, 21st, and 22nd, when it's time to say, what time is it? Is it morning, afternoon, evening? No, it's wellness o'clock. It's time to take care of your wellness and the wellness of your friends, families, colleagues. So with over 9,000 venues participating, including numerous Six Senses around the world in 155 countries, possibly 56 if Gibraltar or Aruba or Cuba decide to join in the coming days. So we're getting closer and closer to 160 countries, but definitely offering fun, free, and inclusive activities in over 2,800 cities. Where will you be on the planet, maybe in Stockholm, and what are you planning to do alone or with Guy, your husband, or your children?
Well, I'm going to have the best World Wellness Weekend ever, I think. I'm actually speaking at Copenhagen Health Week in Denmark. So they have a health week, but it is actually, they call it week, but it's just Saturday and Sunday. So I'm speaking there on the Sunday, and so I'm going to go there on the Saturday, on the 21st, and immerse myself in very interesting talks, do some breath work and yoga, and really have a wellness weekend, so to speak, to honor the World Wellness Weekend. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to speak on Sunday about the intersection and the science behind spirituality and longevity, which is very interesting. As you know, I work a lot in the spiritual realm as well as the scientific realm. And it is a very interesting meeting on how important it is to have a spiritual well-being for each one of us in order to live a long and healthy life. that doesn't mean religious, but it means a spiritual well-being. So it's about connection in a variety of ways. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm very excited about doing that. So that's what I'm going to be on World Wellness Weekend. What are you going to do, Shaggy?
I will be traveling in Japan. I will be supporting the team in Japan, the most active country in Asia. So going from the north in Hokkaido all the way to the south to Fukuoka, attending events organized by groups of hotels, of spas, of yoga studios, some of them supported by mayors, because one of really the true benefits or the true treasures of World Wellness Weekend is, just as sometimes when you plant a seed and you see the tree grow, and then eventually they turn into blooming flowers, and these turn into fruits, and you can share the fruits. Well, really one thing that touches my heart with World Wellness Weekend is that after 8 years, after venues and people and experts and groups embarking on it and having activities for guests or members or staff, they really turn to community to share wellness for all. And now it's catching the attention of mayors who say that they really want to continue these activities. And I'll name just one mayor, the one not in Japan, but one in the Dominican Republic. The mayor of the city of Santo Domingo really wants Santo Domingo to be the most active city for World Wellness Weekend, not just on the weekend, organizing possibly over 2,000 activities over a course of 3 days in 94 parks, so that locals and visitors can enjoy them at no cost, inclusive and free, but to continue and to encourage the local practitioners to come and practice in these parks, some as big almost as Central Park, and others much smaller and communal. So she really wants to start something on the World Wellness Weekend and continue it for as long as she can, so that it is really a city where wellness is thriving. So that's where I'll be, Japan, but also looking at the rest of the world. Maybe when you're in Denmark, in Copenhagen, the beautiful city of Copenhagen, you can tell them about another intersection, and maybe we'll close on this with our 30 minutes. The connection of the victory of the mind and the victory of the body. And when body and mind are connected with those two victories, yes, you can have two V's. You can have wellness, World Wellness Weekend, and wellness for all. Two peace signs, inner peace and peace in the world, connecting for a well world.
That's beautiful. And if you go via Kyoto, let me know, because we have a Six Senses there.
Oh, you do?
We do.
Okay.
With a beautiful wellness director, Ayoko. So let us know.
Wow, fantastic. Well, thank you so very much, Anna, for carving some time and to shedding some light. Obviously, you're outdoors, and sometimes the sun is gracing your face with some sun, and sometimes a cloud comes in. So thank you for letting us know that there are still many opportunities to get excited about this profession turned industry, and to keep really what we do as a work of heart, as you said, because it is really where it needs to start, and not necessarily with the wallet that is close to the heart in the jacket, but really the heart, the beating heart, so that wellness for all can be experienced.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank
All
you
the very
so much,
best. See you
Shaggy.
very, very soon at the Global Wellness Summit in St. Andrews.
Cannot wait.